Thank you. My question is, being on that evolution of man, we already know that ETs have visited us. They may be in the midst, boson frequency, we know that. Is there ever going to be a point where, I guess, collectively as human beings, we're going to know that a certain being is here on the planet and we're going to greet them like they did on one of the Star Trek episodes where I think when the Vulcans first actually came in contact with the humans, I forgot which number it was, but they actually got together and it was understood that the Vulcans are here and they grew together as a species. Is there ever going to be a point where it's not going to be so much on a down low, but we're going to accept these entities for being who they are and we're going to progress together? If they haven't done it already.
Very good question. First and foremost, they are here, and I got that as first-hand information. Second of all is, the planet itself has to vibrate on a specific frequency for it to be noticed. The planet in its present condition could not be accepted into certain realms. And you've heard this before. Human thought is considered a toxic material in different realms of consciousness. So human thought is toxic, creates a toxic environment around certain entities. So until there are a few that have deleted certain emotional signatures that pollute the etheric wavelengths, that pollute the Akashic waves, that are caustic and toxic to certain entities who don't think along certain thought streams, until the sewage that man calls his thought stream is cleaned up, the vibratory waves that we have on this planet right now won't be picked up by higher energy entities, and they would not be able to walk and interface freely with us until such time as they could stand in our presence without getting deathly ill. The idea is that humanity is steeped in its own sewage, its own hatred, its own anger with itself, its jealousies, its greed. All of that has a vibratory rate that is toxic to entities who are very high in their thinking. That's why sometimes you get around certain people and you can't stand being around that person because they give off some kind of energy that makes you sick. Well, these people have thought signatures around them that, because thought is directly connected to your breath, you breathe these people's energies into your body, and immediately, if your cellular structure is vibrating on a specific level, it's going to pick it up as you drinking ink or some kind of, you put your face in the toilet. And your body is going to revulse. It's like, I got to get away from this person. There's something about this person I don't like. I don't like the energy they're giving off of me. It's because they have a toxic energy around them, a toxic envelope of thought processes. Yeah.
So these beings that are here, are they sheltered in a certain maybe artificial container which with artificial
okay, I thought we have yeah, very good point.
While they're here?
Yes, sir.
Because if not, then they dealing with white people. They came in contact with white people.
Yeah.
They should just
well, to tell you the truth, white and black today, but the whites, black people back then were more easily interfaceable with the people because we were more into life with everything around. That's why in the ancient cultures you see them all connecting with them all over the walls and everything. You'll be able to notice them sometimes because if you had the chance to pull back their nose, they have filters in their nose. And they have filters in their ears, deep inside their ears. And their skin has a specific glossy feel to it, almost a kind of a damp, though warm feeling. That's a vibrating energy that they create, much like certain animals create a film on them to protect themselves. They have certain creatures that have that technology. Others just need a suit to come down in this damn place to just be walk around and be in the presence of humans. Because since thought and the breath are connected, a lot of the stuff we exhale is based upon the toxic thought residues that have become part of our blood cells and our blood metabolism. So you have the part of us that as they're here, a lot of them have acclimated because they've interfaced with us genetically to be able to deal with that. A lot of them stay in very cloistered, copacetic environments, like places where they have like there's a place called the Clubhouse in Maryland where extraterrestrial entities go. And the place is pristine. It doesn't have any of the life form, the microscopic life form and so forth from this planet. So yeah, we'll be able to interface with them, but first we have to change the energy frequencies. We have to get rid of the filth that we are burning in the form of coal, gasoline, and all the rest of these residuals that come from that. We have to change the frequencies of these light bulbs so that they have a more broader 7-band spectrum rather than one spectrum, because some of them can't live in this kind of light. Then there are others that just can't live inside of certain rooms because the geometric features of the rooms create certain energy frequencies that are disturbing to their energies. Like these corner things, they couldn't live in here. They have to live in more rounded, more energized places. So they have places like in different parts of Arizona where the rooms match directly the decor of the places where these entities come from. And they have transdimensional entities now who have to live within a specific environment that matches the density level of the frequencies there, whereas they have no air, but they focus like there is air in there. There are different, so many different entities that are here on this planet right now.
Are they humanoid?
Yes, they're humanoid. And some of them, they came through in the form of insectilian, screed, or what they called, according to Raleigh Martin. The screed, the Tarxisians, which are the ones that they call the reptilians, and then the Bavarians, which are the ones that have the United Nations kind of orb that's cycling around Saturn right now. It's actually a ship that is the confederation of about 135 different planet systems or solar systems who come together and they travel the different galaxies as representatives like the United Nations and so forth. So they're here and they're there. They're the ones that prevented a lot of the shit from going down, a lot of the planetoids, a lot of asteroids that could have hit us, a lot of the wars that could have taken off. For instance, if it wasn't for a specific Russian general that was something happened in one of the new fail-safe systems just a little while back, and if it wasn't for one of the entities that was there with that Russian general, because they have people stationed next to idiots like Bush and them that they don't want no shit happening like that because they have too many of the delegations here. There's too many delegates here for some dumb shit to happen like that. So they station certain entities here with them in the form of people who just say, okay, well, it can calm down. A movie came out. The name of the movie was Matt Damon. No, not Matt Damon. What's his name? His friend. Ben Affleck. With Morgan Freeman. Some of All Fears. And did you remember that time when the guy, when there was a rogue in the, what do you call it? And if you notice the way he was talking, it was between the two guys. It was Morgan Freeman and this other dude in Russia were the two people that kept the shit calm. And when the young dude who was the Russian thing was saying, go push the button, push the motherfucker button. And you know, he was trying to be, what do you call it? And then the guy would come by and say, well, you know, just think about it a little bit. And just put it, and you just walk away. He wouldn't say nothing, just think about it. And he was like the Grand Vizier. That's how they operate amongst the very troubled spots in the world. Now, they won't mind the carnage because most of the entities that are dying off today, black and white, are actually here to keep the nexus, the Darth, functioning. Because if there wasn't any death, the Darth would disappear. We need the Darth for the souls to start manifesting back and forth here. Because again, this is trial ground. This is the ground where the souls are being, we are so isolated out in the rim of nowhere as a planet. Everybody want this Everybody want this motherfucker right here. Because they have at least, I think there must be something like 20,000 different genetic species that came from different parts of the universe. Right here. It's like a laboratory of entities are right here. So they come to study how these entities came together and how they are living in harmony. But of course, this one creature now, we've gone to all the way to the realm, the hell realms, and these entities now interface with man, and we got this creature. After all the madness and the blowing up, planets hitting us, and we shooting and killing, and we have planet killers right now on the planet. We have one planet right there in Russia at this time. There is a small installation that shoots down asteroids. There's an installation right now in Russia that shoots down asteroids, and it was placed here over 1 million years ago. It's automatic too, because if anything comes in range, it activates. No man, no human can activate it. No human can activate it.
So it's divinely controlled?
No, it ain't divinely controlled. It's controlled based upon the intelligence of the planet. See, planets know when they're about to be hit. And what happens is you set up a field resonance on the planet through this installation. And then what it does is it amplifies the planet's empathy to its surroundings. If there's anything, that's why we ain't hit yet. How is it that all these planets keep getting hit, and how is it that Earth ain't get hit? I mean, you got Mars with all kinds of pock marks. You got the moon all fucked up. You got Venus with holes, craters. What happened with us? The only reason anything gets through is because there's the frequency interference, and that's why HARP is so dangerous, because it can fuck with what this installation's job is supposed to do. You see? Go ahead, bro. Anybody else?
Weren't we hit at one point the Grand Canyon or something?
No, the Grand Canyon was the evaporation point for an ocean after the Great War, or at the point of the Great War. Grand Canyon was created, deserts were created. All these were based on the shift. We were hit a number of times, but that was because of the war. And that's when they said they had to stop it, because, see, the genetic memory and the genetic banks of thousands of different species from different planes of existence are here. And they can't afford to keep this. This is like a laboratory, a safe house for genetic energies that are all around the universe. In matter of fact, in dimensional universes. They went and stored this shit. This is like Fort Knox for genetics. Yes, brother, your turn. I gotta get brother showing up.
Regarding the Caucasian, I have to go back to them. This is what they're doing. Their rules right here.
Right.
Now, according to the Tree of Life, Kabbalah,
Right.
now are they able to experience? Yes, are they able to go into the astral plane? How far have they gone? Because all of our information basically comes from authors like Gregor Masters, Crowley, with the mystical Kabbalah. We receive our information about the tree from them.
Secondhand. Right.
You know what I mean? Being that they took it from our ancestors years ago. Now we're receiving that information. Now reading, and they're giving us keys and ways to travel back up the tree, because you know that when we came, you know, the three Sopranos, Kevin, we came down like a lightning bolt.
Right.
We traveled down the tree. All the way into Yesod, into Mount Cook. Now, we are supposed to go back up this tree.
Right.
Are they capable of going back up the tree too? How? If so, how far can they go? Because if we are going to go back to dark, which is the invisible Sephra, are they able to go that far, or do they just get stuck there? And
good question.
You know,
okay, remember, the Qiploth cannot go into anything. It can only exist upon the surfaces that are created. And the idea about matter is, it is a surface. It is the onness of being, not the inness of being. The Sephiroth it steps into two worlds. That's why you see it separated into 3 and 4 and into 3 and so forth. The actual, when it goes from the top 3 to the bottom 3, which is the masculine and then the base of the feminine, the Caucasian has the ability to see the surfaces that the Sephiroth represents, to only see that which is radiated to a point where that consciousness that he possesses can then penetrate. Otherwise, he needs an artificial penetrator, which is his technology. Remember I said that the Caucasian amplifies his ability to see in through artificial technology. He has to amplify his way from the surface, from outward, so he can see in. You already possess the technology, because then that's the reason why you're being educated out of the ability to see within yourself. The first thing that you should learn, the first book of life, is you. But they take away that ability so that you see the surfaces and you interpret the surfaces the way he does. See, the only way into the higher Sephiroth is through interpretation. If he continues to savage your consciousness with his interpretation, then he destroys your ability to see and interpret the world from the time you're a child. Your interpretation of the world and how you are caught up on surfaces is what keeps you in which world, whatever world. So, he has the ability to penetrate surfaces through his technology. But his technology now, in order for him to get to the point where he can see that, will overtake him and then rule him, which is the lot of those who are caught up in the world of the Qibla. If you deal in the world of surfaces, then use the surface technology to try to penetrate that surface. The intelligence that you are trying to create, which is supposed to be what you are, will automatically, by it seeing you as imperfect, take you over. And you're now becoming dependent on what the intelligence that you created says, rather than the intelligence that's supposed to grow organically from within you and interface directly with you. Now you have a master rather than you being its master. So, no, they can't penetrate but so far, because the organ of penetration, the instrument, the technology is artificial. It's second-hand. It does not have the soul. It is a second and third order being. It is not a first order being, and only first order beings, which are the direct children of those from the higher Kefa, Bina, and Hukma. Those three are already in the one which is in you, and it is for you to task through whatever difficulty that is perceived by this body. That is the test, that you are the technology. And if you do anything outside, you are caught up in the world of Qibla, which will keep you in the world of Qibla, and you will become a slave of the Qibla. So no, the Caucasian will look very good with his light show. But when it comes back to understanding what it does, he'll go and study the yogis, he'll go and study all the heavy high shamans, but still won't get it. Still won't get it that he has to put his technology aside, leave the world of the shell, and come to the world of substance, which is very difficult for him to do.
They do that on an individual basis, because in reading the mystical Bible about the unfortunate, she tells that book is basically geared towards Western Europeans, and she tells the Western Europeans in that book that you have to get rid of your technology in order to interface with these higher separates.
Exactly.
But if these Europeans do give up that technology on an individual basis, are they able to?
Then they become us. They cannot become anything that they are not. And if we are the progenitors of all life on this planet, then he must be the mutated expression of me.
So they can actually reverse that process?
He can reverse his process. Exactly. And you can see that done by a man named, he did called Rational Fasting. 3 books on rational fasting. I forgot what his name was. It'll come back to me again. But this dude, white European dude, who went into rational fasting, went into cleansing, gave up all kinds of the refined foods and so forth, started turning brown. So remember, it goes back to the part where you started seeing the scientists in South Africa, the Boer scientist who was talking at a convention one day when he said, "I cannot love you." He talked to the Zulu man, he said, "I cannot love you." He said, because if I loved you, I would become like you, and therefore destroy myself. So the Qibla now rules the Caucasoid. If he gives up his perception of Qibla, he now destroys his rulership, because it has to be based upon overt aggression and suppression. That's the only way he can rule, because if he were to become back into the human fold, he would disappear in about 5 generations. Automatically he would come back into the ocean of the true life. So yes, he can interface to a point, but his technology will always block him, because he will always be looking at surfaces. I don't give a fuck if he looks at the atom, it's a surface. And there's that movie called Mind Walk. You need to watch the Mind Walk as you watch 3 Caucasians trying to break down what the world is. There's 1 female and there's 2 dudes, a poet, a guy who ran for president of the United States, and this female who was a physicist. And they're all breaking down Descartes and what he thought about the world. But what happened was, you were watching the interplay of Caucasians playing on surfaces, and it wasn't until the end when the poet summed up everything, because the poet was actually working with words that essentially are the way that you deal with perception. You see, the poet saw through all of her shit because she was getting deep, but she was still dealing with surfaces. And he broke it through. He says, well, everything you said, man, he said, I feel I don't, you know, the way you've reduced me. You talk about reductionism. You've reduced me now where it was before. You now reduced me to a molecule and a central light falling around something. He says, I don't like being reduced to that. You know? He said, you're not dealing with certain perceptions that come with it. You've just reduced me down to a common denominator. Again, just like everybody else did. So that's a good a good movie for everybody to get. It's called Mind Walk. And it's a movie about an hour and a half of nothing but talking. Just three people walking along a beach talking. Heavy shit. You need to get it. I think her name is Liv Ullmann. Swedish actress. Mind Walk. Check that out and just listen to it when you ain't got nothing to do. And if you want to take a toke before you do, say halfway in the movie, because it's a slow mover. You got to be intellect. Take a toke and sit down and listen to him. Blow your mind. Yeah. See if you can get it from Blackbuster. Not call it Blackbuster. You know, and he can touch upon certain things, but his science and his lack of melanin, you know, which could, he thinks he can come and explain a whole lot of shit. I mean, he can get down. He can break down the minuscule shit, but he don't feel it. He don't know what it is. It isn't him. He's just explaining everything the white man does in spirit is a second-hand experience.
When you read it, you feel it.
You feel it's a second-hand experience.
The author, and it's not definitive. It's not confident writing, because I can tell she's not interfacing. She's detached from her own writings. It's like when I'm reading it, I can actually
You filling in the dots.
I'm the missing link.
That's it. So what are you now? What is she now? Except simply a caretaker of what it is that was taken and lost by you. Taken from you and lost by you. They're just holding on. They got all our artifacts in museums and shit. They just caretaking our shit till we wake up. They're going to have to give it back. They don't know what the fuck to do with it, because all our shit, like Igor is walking around like, you know, when Masha comes and shit. You know, when the time comes, they're going to have to give it back, because most of them were the instruments that we set up to keep balance on the planet. They tore down the balance. This shit is fucking up. Weather's going to hell on a broomstick. Nothing is together the way it was. Nothing is clear. And like I say to brothers and sisters, you can't build pyramids